So I'm not as polished. It's 9 a.m. So it's not my usual cooking time. I'm a little slower than usual and everything, but I still think it'll be fun. So I might ask you, Megan, Olivia, or Heidi, or whoever else to,
Yeah,
talk
no.
amongst yourselves at some point.
Yeah,
But
I got
anyway,
some.
all
I
right,
got some great fun facts.
good. Yeah, that's good. You guys can always just talk about the nutritional stuff. So that'd be great. I didn't get too ambitious. I'm gonna make 2 things, not like 4, which is usually what
Okay.
I'm trying to do for my hour. But the request was eggplant. And I think was Warren the one who made that request?
Yes,
Believe
that's
it
why we're
was.
recording this. Yeah.
Why, okay,
For
that's
Warren.
especially why he's bummed. Okay, cool. And yeah, we're gonna do. Sorry, I'm just dealing. Got it. Okay. We're going to do an eggplant dish, a really, really easy dish that you all can do with like ingredients you can find anywhere. And then the other request was for like a bowl or a grain bowl.
Yep.
So we're gonna do that. And it's gonna be a combo of like stuff you can prep ahead of time and then a couple things we'll make now. Sound good?
Awesome.
Great. Okay, so the first thing I did, or I would do, and you can see, so I've got my 2 cameras here. Let me know if you need me to like adjust later. I can try my best.
No, you're good.
But it looks pretty good right here, I think.
Yeah.
It's ugly thing out of the way. Okay. So I got 2 smaller eggplants is just what I found. But even like a big round one, a bigger normal one is usually better. Because we want the meat on the inside. So a smaller one, if you think about it, has more skin, less meat, but that's what was available. So whatever, it doesn't matter. So the point is, get your eggplant. Literally all I did, I took the eggplant, I stuck it on a baking sheet with the parchment paper, which you can see here, and I just stuck it in the oven for like 45 minutes. No oil, no nothing, no cutting. You just stick it in the oven. This is going to be for the people who think they don't like eggplant, this is going to be your tip for liking eggplant. Eggplant is kind of like a sponge. If you just take it raw and you cut it up and you throw it in a pan, you're going to have to use like 14 cups of oil to cook it. And then it just gets gross and not healthy. So a really easy way, if you've ever had like baba ganoush or like eggplant spreads, or if you had like eggplant hummus or like anything where like eggplant is like a spreadable thing, not like a chunky thing, this technique can work for you. And it's really great because it's healthy and it's easy. So literally I stuck these in the oven. They cooked, I kind of rotated them a couple times, but they were in there. It doesn't even really matter. You can do it high heat for a few lesser time. You can do it lower heat for more time. You just want it so that when you touch the eggplant, it's like really soft and you can tell the inside's like cooking and cooked and soft.
Okay. Wow.
So you put them in,
you just
them in
put
whole?
That's
Okay.
crazy. I've never seen that before.
Honestly, if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have guessed it because they do kind of look like you
I'm
cut them.
telling you, I was going to demystify eggplant and make it.
Wow.
So that's the goal. Whole. I'm telling you, it's easy. Baking sheet, eggplant on sheet, into oven. That's it. No
What
salt.
temperature? What temperature?
Let's just say I usually go a little higher. Let's say 450 for like 30 to 40 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Depends on the size of the eggplant. If you've got a fatter, squattier eggplant, it might take a little more time. If you got smaller eggplants, but I would go with, because remember, for something like this, we want to use it for the inside. So I want kind of a bigger one with more of the meat on the inside. And what that does and why this technique works so well is that it cooks the eggplant part of the way or a lot of the way. And then eggplant is full of water. And it kind of steams the eggplant on the inside with its own skin. And so what you're left with is this beautiful, like a lot of the volume of it is gone. And it also just makes it really easy to puree or do anything you want. So this is a really easy dish. It's from my native country of Iran. It's a really commonly made dish. It's usually an appetizer people put on the table. You eat it with crackers or bread, or usually with bread and herbs and a lot of that kind of stuff. But it's super, super easy. So while I'm waiting, they're still a little hot.
Yeah, they're really steamy.
I need to peel them. I need to get the meat out. So I need to give them a couple more minutes. And in the meantime, This dish is super easy. So I'm just going to do one more thing of prep. This dish is just eggplant, garlic, tomatoes, and eggs. That's it.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So I did what I say I don't do. I don't buy tomatoes when it's not the season, but for the sake of we're going into summer, pretty soon you'll be able to buy nice tomatoes. But for now, I bought shitty grocery store Roma tomatoes. So this is how much I love you guys. I'm eating out of season tomatoes. But we're cooking them, so it's not as
Yeah,
bad.
I was gonna say it's better than like a raw tomato this time of year. Is a little mealy. but
Yeah,
cooked
it's
is okay.
not raw, at least. So and what I always suggest is use a serrated knife to cut tomatoes. So
Mhm.
I've just got, this is like a little $5 serrated knife, and it's pretty much all I use.
Do you
And
prefer Roma tomatoes?
it doesn't matter because we're gonna cook it. You just want something with like, again, more like
Insides.
more insides. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want like cherry tomatoes. It's like too much skin and stuff.
It's what's on the inside that counts.
Yeah.
Clearly,
Megan
based on
doesn't-
this dish.
Megan doesn't like the
I can only eat cherry tomatoes if I cut them.
Yeah.
I don't like when they pop in my mouth.
she doesn't like that like sensation of like the tomato exploding.
I don't like because you can't stab them with a fork and then they roll around
Yeah.
and then fall everywhere, and so
Yeah, they can. And if you have to cut them all up, it's a lot of chopping.
Could you put the skin of the eggplant in this dish if you wanted to?
no, because what we want is a really nice, smooth, yummy, like spreadable thing. And
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
skin won't do that. And especially the way I did it. You can use the skin of eggplant. You just cut the eggplant into big chunks, like for a lot of like Italian dishes, you can like keep it on and then it softens up and everything. But in this case, if you were making like baba ganoush, which is a great dish as well, which is not an Iranian dish, it's an Arabic dish. You could do the same technique, but you could do this technique and make anything you want. And that's why I wanted to really feature that and show you guys. If you just do that, if you're scared of eggplant or if you're scared of using 14 cups of oil, do this trick and you'll have the eggplant meat, and then you can like add it to whatever, add it, like I said, to like a spread or to, anything you want. So I'm gonna grab a bowl real quick.
Yeah. Well, I quite like, my favorite way to use eggplant is usually like I make a sauce with eggplant, tomato, zucchini, and summer squash to be like a ratatouille kind of pasta sauce.
So you do cut it.
Yeah, I usually just cut it up and throw it in there, but like kind of it just sautés with like the juice, so it gets more. I like it when it's that soft texture, like Arash is saying, like where it's more.
Wow.
I kind of like the mushy, like I do like the mushy texture. But I was reading before this that the eggplant's like extremely high percent water. Oh, it comes off
just
super
comes
easy.
right off.
So you
wow.
see what happened is, sorry, I can't feature my cutting board, but
have
what
very good
happens
aim.
is that here I can try to do it like this too. So I just literally just peeled it off, and it's really, really easy like this, other than the fact, luckily my fingers are like totally numb and I've burned them so many times it doesn't matter.
Other than the fact that it's burning your fingers.
Really,
yeah.
but if you do this, so what I did is I cut the eggplant open lengthwise to let it cool down. Do it and the skin is too stuck on the eggplant, then it probably needs more time to cook.
Okay.
So now look, I just took all the skin off. That's my compost bucket. I'm not just throwing it against the wall. And I've got, see, this is all the flesh of one eggplant.
It
Right.
looks like a banana.
Yeah,
So
it
that's
does look like a
one.
baked banana.
I'll do it again. Here's
Wow.
the eggplant steaming. My fingers are kind of
Yeah.
hurting. It doesn't matter.
Well, don't injure yourself on our
Yeah.
part.
No, he must. It's for the art.
And then it's really well cut. See, look, it just
Oh, yeah. Very
Yeah.
tender,
and that's the skin.
like a nice brisket.
Yeah. And then look at that.
Wow.
The skin just comes off really, really easy. And there's a lot of moisture. I mean, my cutting board's like getting wet because there's so much moisture, because that's what, like did you say 80% water?
No,
Sorry.
so per 100 grams of eggplant, 94 of those grams are water.
Did you look up the USDA nutrient database?
Yes, I did. Isn't that
So-
crazy?
Yeah. And Arash, can you just tell, so do you do most of your prep on your lap on a cutting board?
I do all of it. I do all my chopping. Everything is on my lap. And I usually wear my apron, which I highly recommend. but it's a complete disaster and dirty, and I didn't wash it yet, so I didn't do that. Let me just rinse off my hands. So far, so good, everyone.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
can't really see much of what everyone else is seeing, so I'm just gonna trust that things
no,
are
it's
okay.
great.
We'll tell you if things are awry.
you don't need to watch
Okay.
me drool.
Yes, I know. I'm pretty hungry, to be honest.
Good. See, you guys need to get on my time zone. I'm not even, you guys know I don't eat breakfast, so this is all like easy for me to do right now. So,
Yeah.
okay. So what we're left with is, I'll just show you. See, like it's just a bunch of eggplant flesh, and it's really easy to cut. I just like slide my knife through it. I just kind of like coarsely chop it up. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's all going to get really mushy and yummy in this dish. So I'm turning on my pan. I'm using a pan like this.
Mhm.
So do you ever cook eggplant a different way?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. This is just an easy way to this is just a really easy way to do it. And a really great dish. And this dish is a winner. I've served this dish to like people of all different like, you know, flavor preferences and people who like don't like eggplant, and it's just a really big winner of a dish.
Yeah,
And
because it's kind of like masqueraded eggplant almost. It's like eggplant in a disguise.
well, that's the beauty of eggplant, and that's
Yeah.
why spreads. That's why like Turkish cuisine, like a lot of the Arabic countries, and in Iran, like we make tons of eggplant because it's so versatile.
Mhm.
Your point about it being so much water is a really good one, because then it makes sense of like why, if you just cut it up and throw it into a pan with oil and water don't mix. So
Yeah.
I
It'll
don't
like,
even, here's another trick. I didn't do that for right now, but I'll just share something else. Like if I'm making like an eggplant pasta, what I'll do is I'll cube up the eggplant into like big chunks, like you've probably seen in a lot of recipes or cookbooks. But before I just throw it in, I'll put them on a baking sheet, spray them with a little oil, salt, and then throw them in the oven, and I'll cook them in the oven. I'll pre-cook them. And again, it gets a lot of the water out. It releases a lot of the liquid, and it cooks it part of the way. So then when I throw it in the pan to make like a pasta or like a pasta tomato sauce, that kind of thing, I only need a little bit of oil, and then it's already mostly cooked. And then it's so much better, and it absorbs everything so much better. So
Mhm.
that is the big thing with eggplant, probably why a lot of people don't like it, because if you've had it, it's probably oftentimes been drowning in oil.
Mhm.
It's just like, that's the reality of it. So
Make a
Uh,
lean-
Can I ask a question?
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to, so there's isn't there seeds in eggplant? And if there are, are you cooking the seeds too?
hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if, I can't see if you're taking them out.
No, he
No,
wouldn't waste.
I didn't take anything out. This is what I have.
Just the skin.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, it's kind of like the tomatoes too, like the seeds in there are fine too.
I'm taking
guys-
notes. I'm trying to write this all down. I'm taking notes.
This dish is going to come together real quick.
Megan Molina made a good point that there are a couple different kinds of eggplant. I know that when I was looking before, there's like a white one that
The
is
Japanese one.
the Japanese, and then we've had the speckled one last year. It's I think it's like a hybrid that we had.
The purple eggplant is my favorite. The purple, they either call them Chinese or Japanese. I think they're two different ones. One's like even longer and fatter. And
Yeah.
one's here and shorter, but they're both purple. Those are my favorite for stir fry. Those you don't need to peel. You can just cut them up. Those do tend to, you can stir fry them because they have a little less moisture, but at the same time, I oftentimes will like steam them or bake them in the oven a little bit just to soften them up. Those are great. And then there's these little round eggplants that are about this big. They call them often like Thai eggplants or Indian eggplants. They come in different colors. They come in like green and white and purple, and especially in the summertime. And those are great for curries. And what's nice is you cut the top off and like cut them in half, and then you throw them into a curry, and they just like soak up all the goodness. And
Yeah, I was gonna say they're
eggplant.
really good in the curry because they soak up like the flavor of the curry.
Well, that's the beauty of eggplant, is that when you know how to cook it, it soaks up the flavor of whatever you're making, which is why people who like it, like me, love it. It's just such a great thing. So this
That's
dish is
amazing.
we make it with a lot of garlic. You can obviously adjust. I did about 3 big cloves. So I'm going in, and I don't want my garlic to burn, so I'm just gonna give it literally a second, 10 seconds maybe. So
You
it's
got a
just
nice
olive
bit.
oil, couple tablespoons of olive oil, a little bit of garlic, and then
Throw
Throw
it
it right
in.
in there.
eggplant goes in.
It's amazing it's still steaming so much considering how long you baked it off and how much water already, I mean, it's just crazy.
Say it again, I missed that.
Just like how much steam there's still coming off of it when you baked off so much of the water
Like there's still water in it because it's 94 grams of water.
per 100 grams. That's only 6 grams of fluid.
94% water.
That's like me.
Okay.
So
Now, I haven't salted anything yet. I remember I always talk about seasoning your food is really important as you go. And eggplant, also another trick. At this point, I've gotten a lot of the water out from roasting it, but salting it gets the water out. That's why a lot of recipes will tell you to like cut your eggplant, salt it, put it in a colander, wait 20 minutes. Like a lot of recipes will tell you to do that. So,
yes.
that's why. So it's the same thing. It's trying to get the liquid out so that you can get to the goodness. So,
Mhm.
all right. So we're getting this cooking. And I am going to do my spices, and I didn't do pepper, and then I'm going to go in. So I'm going to do just pretty simple. This is a pretty common mixture of spices in Persian cuisine. It's just turmeric, cumin, and coriander and paprika. Those are 4.
Okay.
So I'm going to go,
So turmeric is nice and yellow, anti-inflammatory.
Mhm.
which gives it a really nice color. In this dish, you definitely want to go a little, you want to give it a good amount of turmeric for that reason. So I
So
would say,
obviously you're an eyeball person, but I would say
Yep.
you're probably doing like a teaspoon, maybe half or so. After
I
a
would
whole.
say it was about I would say about a half a teaspoon of cumin. I would say for sure a teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of coriander because it's a milder spice.
Mhm.
That's coriander that just went in, and then paprika, probably about a half teaspoon.
Mhm.
Okay.
So boom,
Nice and
that's
colorful.
Love it.
and I need my pepper.
At my house, we have 3 different containers of cumin. I don't know how we acquired so much.
I'll
cumin.
take some. I love cumin.
The best spice. It's my favorite spice.
No, it
Oh
is
my
good.
gosh, it's my favorite too.
I mean, it's good. I mean, I do make a lot of chilies, so it's pretty good in chilies.
Wow, look at that cooked down.
Yep. So
I
now,
always-
especially, and this is also a dish I forgot to mention. I often make this with just canned tomatoes, like canned diced tomatoes work really, really well because they have juice. They're already canned they're already cut and they're really easy. But I wanted to kind of, as we're starting to go into summer and we're going into like tomato, if anyone's like, oh, I've got eggplant and tomatoes in my CSA box, or I went to the farm to do with
Yeah.
it. That's why we're doing fresh. So I'm gonna throw in the tomatoes a little earlier than I normally would because they're fresh and they need to cook a little bit. So
Gotcha.
throw in, this is probably a little more than I like, but whatever.
That one grocery store tomato really did it for you.
No, it was 3. It was 3.
Oh, it was
Roma.
3. Okay, I was gonna say,
that's
girl,
a big Roma tomato.
that's a lot of tomato.
I'm gonna add another pinch of salt because I just added my tomatoes. And
What's weird is that our kitchen smells like muffins.
I
right
know.
now, so
I
I'm
was
like,
oh my gosh, it smells so good.
I'm watching you cook this, and I'm like, why does it smell like muffins?
so this is, if I used canned tomatoes, I probably wouldn't need to do what I'm about to do, but it's looking a little dry. So I'm gonna add maybe like a quarter of a cup of water, half a cup of water, just to help it get some liquid. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I think Roma tomatoes do tend to be like a little less liquidy, which is why I like them, because I don't like juicy tomatoes.
well, juicy tomatoes don't like you, so
Yeah, I know. They really don't.
All right, and this is all kind of like medium heat, guys. It's nothing crazy. No high, no low. And see, now that's kind of what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Fairly, if I had like nice juicy summer tomatoes or even canned tomatoes, I wouldn't need to add a lot of liquid. But again, this is looking like it needs a little bit. So what I'm also
Yeah.
gonna do is I'm gonna put the lid on this.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the simple trick that I think a lot of people don't appreciate or understand always is like how to control things with like putting a lid on something. If something's too, you want to keep moisture in, you put the lid on. You want to keep some of the moisture in, you put your lid, slightly ajar.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, you have too much liquid, you need to get rid of it. All right, take the lid off. So just
Mhm.
little that can really up your cooking game of just understanding these like really basic concepts. So I turned the heat down to like medium low, and now I just need to let this go for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes maybe until the tomatoes cook, especially because these crappy Roma tomatoes, they just need some time to break down.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do that. I'm actually gonna move this because I want the space in the front.
Can I tell you like 3 fun facts about eggplant? They're
Please.
really important. Okay.
They're really important, guys. Pay
So for like a half a cup of eggplant, it's about 3 grams of fiber. So like even though it's like mostly water, it's like pretty high in fiber. It's like very low, very calorically not dense. Very low
It's
in like
nutrient dense.
but
Low
very
calorie.
low in calories. So lots of fiber. The highest nutrient that is in eggplant. Do you want to guess? You'll never guess.
Oh my gosh, is it a vitamin or like
It's a mineral.
it's a mineral? Oh god.
Yeah. Doesn't have a ton of it doesn't have like a ton of vitamins in it.
I vote for calcium.
You vote for calcium?
Yeah, beats me what the answer
I'm
is.
gonna say iron.
You're gonna say iron. Okay.
I have no idea.
So the answer is manganese.
Oh my god, no way. I was literally going to say that.
Really?
I was like, I'm gonna guess something wild and say manganese.
Manganese is super weird. I've been studying for this big nutrition test, so I've been really ripping on my manganese facts.
Ooh, I have a manganese fact.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Isn't this the one where if you're deficient in it, it's like it kind of gives you Parkinson-like symptoms?
When you get too much of it.
Ah, damn.
Yes. When you get too much of manganese, you get manganese madness. It affects like your like brain and your fine motor skills, so it becomes like Parkinson's like. Very hard to get a high level of manganese.
I would like to say that I have not been studying and I remembered that fun, kind of accurate part.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty proud of myself.
But also the eggplant is part of like the nightshades family, which our good friend Mr. Tom Brady was like totally out on. There's no reason why. I was
reading about that from the Cleveland Clinic, and it was saying that the nightshades contain the same, like, is it a mineral or something that like things like tobacco also have, which is why people are like, I can't eat nightshades, which is really, this entire dish is like all nightshades because it's tomatoes and eggplant. But who's to say how much you actually have to eat to like get that insane amount of
also what
the same amount that you would if you smoked tobacco.
It's also one of those things where like just because it looks like it doesn't mean that it functions like that. Like that's the kind of the same principle that came up with soy and men thinking it was going to cause them to develop like hormones like women,
like increase their estrogen.
Yeah, because soy really mimics the way that estrogen looks in the body, but it doesn't function that same way. Almost like cholesterol with the eggs. So
oh my
three things that go together.
What I'll say is that the eggplant is eaten in what do we always hear, like Mediterranean diet is often
exactly
like it as, I think it's quoted as like the healthiest diet in the world. And what do people in the Mediterranean eat? Greece, Turkey, Middle East.
Yep.
Italy, they eat a lot of eggplant and
A lot
tomatoes.
of eggplant, tomatoes, yeah, peppers.
We love our nightshades out there. So
yeah, they're delicious.
Okay.
So tell Tom Brady to screw it. Okay, go ahead.
Tom Brady can screw it for other reasons too. But okay, so trust me, I'll connect this in a minute, but we're gonna transition to talk about a theme we've talked about a few times in this show. In this show.
Cabbage. In this show. It is a show, Arash.
In this Zoom call that we do. Okay, slaw. Megan, I think this is one of your favorite things, right?
Yes.
Love cabbage.
So this is gonna go into our next dish, but I wanted to bring it up to say, how do I do this? Yeah, I'll just keep it here. So I just took some red cabbage, purple cabbage, shredded it up thin, and I'm gonna make like a little quick slaw, and this is gonna go into the grain bowl that I'm gonna put a bunch of other stuff in. So
Love a quick slaw.
I think I mentioned this when we talked about it in one of our previous Zoom calls, but one way to really up your slaw game is, so this is the raw cabbage. It's kind of hard. It's like, doesn't have, if you ate it like this, you know, it's okay, but unless you cut it really, really, really thin, which I was in a rush and I didn't do that great of a job, it's not great. So what you want to do is you want to salt your slaw, salt your cabbage. And not a lot. We're talking like, I don't know, a quarter of a teaspoon. But I just salted it. And then all I do is I kind of like massage it with my hand. And sorry, I can't put
That's
it on.
okay. You can massage.
But all I'm doing is just kind of massaging this slaw, this cabbage. And this works even better for green cabbage, because cabbage is just tougher anyway, so it'll have a little bit less of an effect. But green cabbage, if you do this, if you're ever making like a slaw or like Napa cabbage, holy crap, Napa cabbage, if you do this, you literally need to like tip the bowl in the sink and dump out the water, because that's how
Oh
much.
wow.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Yeah, this seems to be a theme of today, which I didn't realize is like vegetables.
Those very wet foods.
And understanding that. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just massaging it. I added a little bit of thin sliced red onion just because it kind of looks like the cabbage, and I like raw onion. If you don't like it, you don't have to add it. Don't freak out.
I like it. I like the thin slice because then you can get like more of the flavor kind of spread throughout without like even so much.
Get the
Yeah.
sweetness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love raw onion. I totally understand that a lot of people don't. That's totally fine, but don't get mad at me. It's just preference. People.
It just affects my breath for like 3 days.
So I'm gonna let this just like sit for a bit, because we got other stuff to do.
So fun facts about cabbage, I just looked it up, and like eggplant was 94%
Yeah.
water. Cabbage is 91% water.
Yeah. Maybe one of the reasons why these vegetables are so healthy, right?
Yeah.
I know. Well, I've always massaged my cabbage with the dressing, but now my mind is just blown that you massage it with a little bit of salt.
No,
It's all in the massage.
If I'm making like tacos or really any use of like raw cabbage in that form, like thin sliced cabbage, I do this because it's just so much better. It tenderizes it. It makes it get a lot of the liquid out, makes it less tough. And then when you dress it, so the key thing to remember is we don't want to oversalt the food and make it taste gross. So just whatever you end up doing later, just add less salt, you know? And that's why I'm not a big fan of like store-bought dressings and stuff, because you can't control that. Like if I did this and then I added a bunch of store-bought dressing, it might be really salty, you know?
Yeah.
I also use kosher salt, which is like half as salty as normal salt. This is something I only learned about a couple years ago, from a book I read, that was all about like all these different subtleties of cooking, and that different salts have different saltiness. So that was really interesting for me. So now I only use kosher salt, Diamond brand kosher salt, and you can basically, it's less salty, so you can adjust.
Yeah. Well, and also, you know, you do most of your cooking at home, and like we've said before, the amount of salt that you actually get from what you're adding to your food is very minimal when you compare it to salt that you'll be getting from a processed food, because it's also like right on the tip of your tongue, like it's less kind of within the product. So, you know, you get that salt right away without really adding as much.
I like this pan that you're using. Is it a cast iron?
Yeah, so this, I think I talked about this with you guys when this came up. I'm trying really hard not to use nonstick anymore. This is like a non-stick, but it's okay. It gets like the eggplant was sticking to it a little. It's still not my favorite. But then this is cast iron, And for me, cast iron, I don't have great hands, so it's really heavy. We found this one, it's like a thin cast iron, so I can actually like kind of lift it up. So I try to use it all the time. So now my wife just like when she cleans it, she just puts it on, it just kind of lives on the stove. So I don't have to like carry it around.
Mine
And
lives
it's-
on the stove too, and
Well,
I have great hand dexterity, but I can't get it out of the cabinet.
So
So
I'm
it's just,
using a
they're just
grain bowl.
heavy.
And this week has been a little insane, so I didn't get to get super crazy and exotic. So I just kind of I'm using what I had. I had asparagus from our CSA box because asparagus has a very short season. It's like 3 weeks, maybe a month, and it's right now. So if you like it, enjoy it. Eat it now.
Heidi, take notes.
So
What's that?
wait, when
I
you do
told
your,
Heidi to
I
take
am.
notes because she has a crap ton of asparagus right
Yeah.
now.
so when you do your asparagus, do you take the little end off at all?
Yeah, so I cut the bottom maybe 3 inches off before
Yeah,
I
because
do
it's
it.
kind of like chewy. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just too fibrous. You always want to
Yeah.
cut up. An easy way to figure it out is if you take the asparagus, especially with the thicker ones,
Yeah.
and you hold it and you bend it, and where it snaps is kind of naturally where you should toss.
Mhm.
So just snap them.
Just snap them, and the vegetable will tell you itself like where.
Yeah. That used to be my job as a child.
Daniel said that we could. What did he do? He peeled them, and I was like, that just seems like a lot of work.
That's
Yeah.
that's the chefy stuff I'm talking about. That's where it's like way too chefy. No one's for like the big thick asparagus. You
Yeah.
can peel them and make them into ribbons. I'm
Right.
But
actually
not
the
the nice
small
little
ones.
ones. You got nice
That's
skinny
really
ones
chef.
there.
These are thin asparagus. If they were thicker, I would probably blanch them. I would probably blanch them in boiling water. So yes, that is an extra step. But these are thin guys. So I'm just sauteing these. These are just vegetable, and these are just shiitake mushrooms I had.
Oh, love.
Use normal mushrooms. You can not use mushrooms. Guys, don't get too caught up in like what I'm using. It's just whatever you like. If you like peppers, if you like a grain bowl is just a way to like put a bunch of stuff you like in a bowl and make a yummy sauce. And then
Mhm.
Do
Yeah.
you wash your mushrooms?
I usually rinse them off or I just wipe them off. Shiitakes tend to be a lot cleaner. That's why I like them too. But I usually cut the stems. I usually do not cook with shiitake stems. So that is a big thing. Normal mushrooms like white or brown cremini mushrooms or something, the stems are fine. Shiitakes, they're too tough. So
Yeah.
definitely take the stems out if you're using shiitakes for any recipe.
Well, I also like, the cabbage that you got, if you find that some people find that cutting the cabbage can be really challenging depending on how your hand dexterity is. That's one of the easy ones that they do sell cut up. Nice, easy thing to like add in as well. And the asparagus, you don't really have to cut. You can bend them, make your kids do that. That was my job. I used to like clean beans as well. That was one of my jobs as a child. Then the mushrooms, you don't even have to cut. You just pull the stem out.
Yeah, or you can use some people use like a grater even, or I don't know. I've never tried that, but
For the cabbage.
the cabbage, yeah, or a
Yeah.
mandolin. If anyone
Mandolin.
Yeah.
mandolin works well. So you want to know? Actually, here's a cool trick I want to share with you guys because I don't have great finger dexterity and I have a great mandolin, but I'm kind of scared to use it so much
Yep.
because it's a super sharp blade.
Yeah.
So I got a cool idea. My mother-in-law, I'll be right back.
Is it the food processor? Because I like that one.
No,
You
it's
could- if you
similar.
Cut
This
it
was a
into a
gift
cylinder.
from my mother-in-law. This is an oyster shucking glove.
Oh my
Lined
God.
with like it's like chainmail. It's like lined with metal. So
Oh.
now, because like I have not 100% hands. I don't have great finger strength. So now I've been using my mandolin more because what I do, I don't have great. I can kind of get my fingers. So now I just wear this glove and I grab like an onion or I actually did cabbage on the mandolin and it was
That's
so.
incredible.
And I just wear this and then it protects your fingers.
That's super smart. I like that.
Kind of a
No,
cool.
I was-
Genius.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's an oyster shucking glove?
Yeah.
Oh,
Shucking
cool.
oyster.
He's an oyster guy.
Shucking
I've done it
oyster.
in the food processor where you kind of make it into like a little column because there are different like kind of blades with a food processor. And one of them is just kind of like it can just kind of cut things. So I've used it to cut up carrots, like if I'm making like a carrot cake kind of a thing, and I don't want to do all the carrots on the box grater.
Mhm.
So I do that with the carrots and zucchini and with cabbage.
The grater attachment on a food processor is incredible. I don't know why. It's annoying because you have to take your whole food processor
Yeah.
out, and you have to
Yeah.
clean it. But if you're grating a lot of stuff, like if you're like making a big salad or whatever, something you need to grate a bunch of carrots or potatoes, like hash browns or like
Yeah.
anything where you're making a lot of something, use your food processor grater attachment because you literally just go and it does
It is so satisfying.
literally like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It would take me like, even if I had perfect hands, it would take me like a minute to grate that much.
Well, and I just always end up grating off the top of my fingers, no matter what.
But
I
now
do.
we all need oyster sharpening gloves.
I need one for sure.
I want one for grating
This
cheese.
I don't know how much you can see, but this is getting better. It's getting nice and mushy.
No, it looks great.
Getting
Very yellow from all the turmeric too. I like the yellow.
Wow, that
For
looks
tea?
yummy.
Mm.
It almost looks like shredded chicken.
let's see, here we go. So it's getting
Yeah.
there. Tomatoes are
Yeah.
still a little hard. So I'm gonna let this cook a little longer. Because the last step is to add the eggs at the end. And then what I'm gonna do is these are pretty much done, my veggies.
Okay.
But I know that
Nice.
I'm gonna my asparagus are pretty much done. I'm gonna move those off. My mushrooms, what I like about cast iron is that it retains heat for a while.
Mhm.
I know I kind of want to move on to the next thing, but the mushrooms need another minute or two. And I only flipped them. So I'm just gonna let them sit here for a minute. I turned the heat off, but the cast iron stays hot for a bit, so
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's cooking. So that's it. So trying to think, how do I do this now? Now we need to shift.
Oh, Miguelina, you have a question?
Yes. Do
Go
you
ahead.
put the spices to the mushrooms, string beans?
No, I didn't add anything because I'm gonna make a really yummy sauce and it's gonna cover everything in that sauce. So I'm just trying to keep it super, super easy. I just gave them a little bit of salt just to season the vegetables because again, that is a chefy thing, but it does make sense just a little bit to season your food so it tastes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Thank
no
you.
spice.
You want my address?
Yeah, you could send it for some nice lunch. It'd be so nice if we could
Okay.
Uber Eats.
So I want to
Yeah.
make sure I finish in time. So I'm gonna start talking about the grain bowls. So I just when I make a grain bowl, I like to do. This is a great pantry kind of thing. Let's see, where should I put this? Maybe I put this over here. Sorry guys, give me a second. Because we'll kind of.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that's crappy for now, but anyway.
That's okay.
So here, this is where having a great pantry of stuff, it doesn't go bad. Non-perishable stuff is great. These are black lentils. I just cooked these up. You can use anything you want. I know this group tends to be scared of lentils. Don't be. But if you don't like lentils, beans, kidney beans, white beans, chickpeas, whatever you want. If you want to do meat, go for it. Rotisserie chicken you got left over, pull some of that. Doesn't matter. I don't care. You do you.
But we need a protein. This is your lentils are your protein.
This is my protein. Yeah, I don't do meat, so this is my thing. So, but like, doesn't matter. Don't get caught up. Just whatever you want. Canned beans are great. I was gonna do kidney beans. My wife said that's too boring. So these are black lentils. Black lentils are like, I don't even want to know. Like, I mean, they're like so beyond nutritious. I can't even tell you. I think they're like twice as healthy as like normal lentils.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we will tell you.
The other thing I made for my grain, you can do brown rice, obviously white rice, we try to minimize a little, but
But it
again,
is so
anything
good
you want.
sometimes.
Don't get caught up. I made farro because I like farro a lot and it's a whole grain. It actually has quite a bit of protein in it as well. It looks
Mhm.
like it's cooked. So it
I
kind
like
of looks
farro
like
too.
brown rice, but it's a grain traditionally from northern Italy.
Yeah.
It's eaten throughout the Middle East and the Mediterranean. So and all I did for these was really simple, guys. I just filled this pot. I didn't measure with water. I threw one thing in. I waited until it was cooked. and then I drained it, and then I threw more water in, boiled it, added the other thing in, waited till it was cooked, drained it. So it's just a foolproof way. This is a really great trick for meal prep. So
Yeah.
you can do this 2 days ahead of time. You can do this on a Sunday, prep a bunch of grains, have
Mhm.
it in the fridge ready to go.
That's a
So
good idea.
what I'm going to do is, let's see. Well, I'm not quite ready to do that. So
Not ready for the bowl.
make my sauce. I'm gonna make my sauce. So where am I gonna put my computer? Let's see. So the key to a great grain bowl
Is
I'm
the
gonna move
sauce.
is the sauce. You got to make a yummy sauce. So let's do this. So you guys can
Yeah, that
see.
works. Yeah, perfect.
So
Oh, I like the view of your kitchen.
I'm using my little chopper here, and I like to use a lot of herbs to give my sauce flavor. So I have some parsley here, so just some flat leaf parsley, Italian parsley. So I'm gonna throw, and I think I've talked about this in our sessions, is like a really easy way to integrate herbs into your cooking. So I'm not doing this like you use two puny little leaves of parsley. We pack this thing. And then this is cilantro from my garden. This is the last of my cilantro from the garden. So I'm packing it in. I try to keep most of the parsley stems out. The cilantro stems, I don't mind because they actually have great, they're very tender. So I start with my herbs. And then I like a lot of garlic. Again, you don't have to do this. So I put about 2 cloves of garlic in, two to three smaller cloves. Then I need, oh, I realized I forgot something, but an acid. So I've got some lemon juice. I juiced these earlier. So let's see, I'll give you the precise measurements right now. This is about 1/3 of a cup. I'm gonna do probably half of that. So I want a lot of acid.
So 1/6 cup.
What's that? Yeah, well, there you go. 1/6 of a cup, whatever that is. I don't know, like
It's probably like 1/4 of a cup plus a tablespoon.
Are we going herby yogurt? Or are we going herby?
we're going herby yogurt tahini, but I forgot my tahini, so
Love
I
to
gotta
see
get
it.
that. So 12
Okay.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I will give a fun fact. I
Talk
saw something
amongst
recently
yourselves.
about how to get the parsley leaves off, and you can actually pull the stem through a cheese grater,
Oh,
and it pulls the leaves off the stem.
that's a smart one.
And I was like, it was one of those things on social media where it's like, I was this many years old when I learned this kind of deal. Cause it's like mind blown.
Well, I like this because you're also incorporating a little bit of calcium for people who we were talking last week about bones, trying to get calcium in a couple times during the day.
I feel like asparagus, like you're getting so much fiber in this dish, a good amount of protein. I've been trying to look up black lentils and my internet is failing me.
It is a good amount of fiber, but especially with the cooked down vegetables, that does make them a little easier to digest. The only really raw thing is going to be the slaw, which is really like to add the crunch. So it sounds like Arash's formula tends to be some sort of grain, which is dealer's choice, based on what you have in your pantry. Some sort of protein as well. Vegetables mostly cooked, but maybe one something raw for the crunch. A dope sauce,
which is the creamy.
Yeah, it
Arash,
adds the creamy.
what did you just add?
This is tahini.
No,
This is
no,
tahini. This
that
is,
before was tahini?
Yep,
Okay.
this is tahini, and then so far we have herbs. So I used parsley, cilantro, garlic, and then I did lemon
Lemon
juice,
juice, garlic.
and then I'm gonna add a spoonful or so of this plain yogurt. Make it a little creamy.
Can you say how much tahini you put in there?
Probably did about 1.5 tablespoons to start. Yeah, because I don't tahini, so it's really fatty. You don't want to go overboard because then it can get nutty and fatty and too strong. But it's really yummy. It's really good.
Thank
So I'm gonna do that. So I just did a little salt and pepper, and then because we're in this Middle Eastern theme, I'm gonna add a pinch of cumin. So I'd say about
Shout out.
Yes.
a teaspoon of cumin.
Well, cumin tends to go with like the tahini because it's often an ingredient in like a hummus. So it does go really well with the tahini. I was out of tahini the other day and I did substitute almond butter and it did work fine.
I'm gonna mute myself for a minute because
Yeah.
this is really loud and I'm gonna blend this up.
Okay.
fine. I am realizing from watching this that I do not salt my food or season my food appropriately.
I
Like,
usually
no wonder my cooking is boring.
well, I think that, you know, we're seasoning throughout. There's like fresh herbs, there's like dried spices as well. There's, you know, salt and pepper, like the supporting characters, but they do like, they lift it up.
It's definitely getting me excited for like fresh produce again, because sometimes it can be so boring to like come up with these ideas. They're not boring, but like hard to come up with these ideas.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta think of like, okay, I have these things. Maybe I just look up a sauce to go with it or like a dressing.
This does kind of feel like a show. Like Olivia and I are just the hosts over here, just, you know, casually talking while Arash finishes up his dish. And then we're all gonna taste it at the end.
Yeah.
If only.
That's really the kicker, unfortunately.
He really has a completely separate plated meal in the oven. He's gonna pull out in a second.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
can you imagine?
That's what they usually
Just like
do.
on the TV shows, you know,
I
they have the
know.
after,
Yeah, the during and the after.
right? Just pulls it out of the oven.
I'm wondering if he's using a wooden cutting board or if that's like ceramic.
With
looks-
water- well,
It looks not wooden.
Well, it's definitely very solid so that he doesn't cut his legs.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. I think he's told us before, but
I think I know it's
I
very
love the
solid.
kitchen setup.
I also think
So
it's
cute.
heat proof because he will put hot things on there. too.
Yeah.
Wood
He-
would do that. Wood would be heat proof.
Yeah. Obi's bed is wood. He's got to blend just a little more. He needed more liquid. It was
What's
too
your
solid.
chopping block? What's your cutting board made out of, Rush?
No, he's blending. He's blending Obi.
Blending, that's right.
oh, he's
forget.
gonna.
You
Boy,
don't
that
want to hear
looks
the
good,
blending.
too. That looks good.
It does
too.
look good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mm-mm.
Herby yogurt kind of
I
sauce.
blended it. Okay, I'll try to answer everything. I know I'm getting low on time, so I gotta talk fast, move fast. I think it's like a fake wood. It's Epicurean brand. I got it at Sur La Table like 10 years ago. It's lasted me well. I love it. It's thin, but it's sturdy. It's not wood. I don't put hot things on it directly.
okay.
I do for like a second, just like real quick to like put it on, then roll and then put it off. It's okay. So that's the cutting board. It's great. I think it was like $20 10 years ago, and I've been using it ever since then. So
Okay.
I blended the sauce. It was a little too thick. I added a splash of water, and now it's really, really nice. So now I'm going to start assembling my grain bowl. And this is like a very typical thing that we would make and have for like lunch or dinner. My wife loves these. It can be a little bit of work if you're trying to do all of this at once. That's why this is a great thing for like meal prep.
Mhm.
Mhm. Well, you could also like easily, like if you guys had made like asparagus the night before and you just wanted to like use, and like you had just kind of you had a sauce with them last night, but you kind of kept them separate. Like I think if you know, make more like plain items and like add the extra,
Yeah, you throw them all together at the end.
then it's easier to kind of like separate them out and then add it to other dishes later on in the week. Like you have the plain lentils and the plain farro and plain veggies.
That's exactly right. So it's a really great thing to do. I wanted a little color, so I take a peeler and I peel some carrots. It's kind of make it pretty. That's like a nice trick I've learned.
So he's got green, he's got purple, he's got orange.
I've got
White.
Mary, this is for you too. Just good old baby spinach in a bag. I've talked about this a lot. How just a really easy way to get some nutrition. I was gonna cook these. I kind of prefer spinach cooked. I don't love it raw, but I didn't have time. So now
Well, I also think the combo of a grain bowl when you have like, it's like half green, half like leafy green.
Well, yeah, like when you go to Sweet Green or Kava, they tell
That
you
looks great.
they tell you that you can
Oh.
do half grain and
Yeah, sweet green, you can either do all green, or half and half. And Arash is doing a half and half right
Mhm. And it also always looks better if you put everything in a little pile.
now.
And
And
you kinda
use different chopping methods. Like he's got the peeled.
So now I just took my asparagus. I
Chop.
cut it in half. Kind of put it right there. For a
Oh,
little
chef's
cook.
kiss.
My
Wow.
piece. Get my mushrooms maybe over here.
Wow.
Oh, wow, those cooked
And
beautifully.
don't forget, we have this slaw.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about the slaw.
Oh,
So
that's
now
right, the
it's
slaw.
tenderized quite a bit.
Wow.
I would actually prefer, this is something that I would want to dress a little bit. So I would add a splash of vinegar. Actually, you know what? I've got this lemon juice right here. This is what I'm
Oh,
gonna
great
do.
idea.
Just dump that in. And it's already salted, so it's already a little bit seasoned. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's softer. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I can tell actually.
Yeah. It's bendier.
Gonna take a little pile of that
Wow.
there.
The
So-
purple can be a hard color to get, but we've got 2 purple today.
Wow, your wife is gonna be so happy because her lunch is already prepared.
So there it is. We got our lentils, farro, asparagus, carrots, cabbage, spinach, mushrooms. Oh, and I even had avocado again, because everything's better with avocado. So
Yeah.
we want to make it fancy schmancy, although this is a Trader Joe's avocado, so I'm a little bit, oh, not bad.
What the breakdown is.
Megan wants to put it in,
Yeah,
Megan's,
later I'll let you guys know what the nutrient profile of this dish is.
I'm curious how much fiber is
I
actually
know,
in it.
I am too.
There's enough fiber to make you poop real well, I'll tell you
I
that.
know.
Gets the bowels a moving.
This is how I eat, and this is why I don't have any problems with my bowel program.
And that you start your day off with 2 liters of water.
You said it's farro and black lentil.
Because if you were to eat this much fiber and not drink enough water, you would actually explode from the inside out.
So there it is. And we got our sauce. I'm not gonna dress it now because it's like not even 10 a.m. So, but I've got my nice herb sauce. You guys saw how easy that was.
Looks yummy.
A million different ways you can go. Now I have to take you back. I have 1 more minute. I am gonna finish on time. So I just want to finish with my eggplant.
I know, I was like, where's the eggplant?
This feels kind of like a little bit of like a shakshuka type, like the way that you serve it.
So how does the eggplant? Oh yeah, you can
Wow.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
So now
Wow, that looks incredible.
I just cracked.
Put an egg in it. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, this is a key. In the north of
Oh,
Europe,
look at it cook. Look at it go. It's going.
and then all you do is just break it up.
Whoa.
And the egg takes like 1 minute to cook.
I'm interested.
Oh my gosh. This is how I make fried rice. You just throw it in at the last minute.
Well, yeah, and in this case, it makes it kind of like creamy, like extra creamy with the eggplant.
Wow.
that looks amazing.
And protein. Wow. Look at us.
Because you don't want it to cook too much, right, Arash?
You don't want it to cook too much. So it was already really hot. It's been, as you guys saw, for a while. And then, yeah, now I just turned off the heat. I folded this in. It's pretty much already cooked. But the 2 eggs give it like a nice creaminess.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to whisk it ahead of time. You don't want it to get like scrambled eggy. That's why this is on because the white kind of like runs in there and makes it creamy. So that's done. And in typical Arash fashion, I like garnishes. I like my food to look good.
Yeah. Nice.
Parsley on top to finish, or any herb you want. So that is a phenomenal dish. You can have that with, again, like traditionally we would eat it with just smear it on some bread with some herbs on the side or whatever else. You can do whatever you want. You can eat it with rice if you want. I don't really do that, but a lot of people like to. And we've got our grain bowl. So I'm only 1 minute behind. So
Yeah.
That was
No, we
excellent.
killed it. You killed it.
Thank you so much. We're
Thank you
definitely
very
gonna
much,
do
Thank
this
you,
again.
Arash.
Nice.
I'm gonna
Thank
actually
you.
stop the
Thank you.
recording.
Yeah, go
Thank
ahead.
you so much.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
I hope this was,
Yay!
I hope you
My
guys are- okay.
is-
I hope this was informative. Again, like I always say, if you haven't, seen any of my previous cooking stuff, I do always say this, but like, don't worry too much about the specific ingredients. Just make it what you want. You don't like lentils, you don't like farro, make it with, I don't know, brown rice and, leftover chicken or tofu or leftover fish that you had that's like getting, you have salmon in the fridge. You're like, what do I do? Oh, cool. I'll make a whole grain.
You could do like a can of tuna too.
Grain, yeah, tuna, anything you want. So I'm plant-based. You don't have to be. You do whatever you like. But I just want to show that this is just a really easy way to make a nice, like who doesn't want to eat that? Like, it's
Wow.
so yummy.
You sound like Ina Garten. How good is that?
Good. And when your food looks good, it tastes
Yeah.
good too. And then when you throw that sauce all over it, oh man.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be Arash's like catchphrase. Who wouldn't want to eat that?
All right. This was amazing. So fun.
Thank you so much.
We've
Thank
written everything
you
down. We're
all.
gonna do a little nutrient
That was
breakdown.
awesome.
With my, I don't have my camera person.
Thank you.